Hey guys, this is Bill Combs
and Jeff Newton,
and this is the Flashbang Creative Podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back. As we said in our last podcast, we really are. We're back. We're not going to take another break on you guys, at least for a while. This episode is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be primarily what I would call a mindset episode, as opposed to a strategic episode. What do you think? You agree?
Absolutely.
All right. So
it's going to be a little bit in your face.
Parental advisory, because sometimes I get worked up.
Yeah, you don't want to see Bill passionate about something.
Yeah, we have at least one listener who she does listen with her children, and maybe don't this time. All right, let's talk about my topic. Jeff's gonna have a topic. I'm gonna have a topic, and we're gonna kind of bat it back and forth on this one. So what I want to talk about is, first off, consider yourself an entrepreneur. I mean, you got to. You're a business owner. Act accordingly. Jeff's the statistic guy. Jeff, what are we at for entrepreneurs? What's the statistics?
3% of the U.S. population would be considered an entrepreneur.
3% wear this hat. They are the captains of their fate. And most of them fail. And really, the biggest failure is they quit. They're quitters. Don't be a quitter. Don't be that guy. Most people I've talked to, they quit or have thought about quitting because other people bring them down. I know I've felt that way before. Through some of my various business ventures, especially, the stuff that Jeff and I do. It's pretty unorthodox. A lot of people sell guns. That's what we started in. And, everybody's like, you really think you can make it? You really think you can play with the big dogs? Yeah, I do. I think I can. I think I'm going to. I'm not going to throw in the towel. And so the biggest point here is there's always going to be haters or naysayers or just people who they don't understand. They don't understand the market which you've researched or you've been in and know. They don't. So you can't get mad at them per se. Be it your wife, your friends, your parents, whoever. It doesn't really matter. But those that closest to you, because the ones that are closest to you, they're the only ones that matter. The other people, they don't matter. But when they start asking you, is this going well? Is this something we can do? Can we sustain? The answer is yeah. I mean, no one says it's going to be easy. It's never easy. If it was easy, everybody would be millionaires. Everybody would be, big shots. And that's not the way it is. It's hard work. There's a lot of failures. It takes years to generate momentum and a following, customers, that come back, that recommend you. It takes a long time. It's not a short game. So if you're out there and you're on social media or on the internet or buy a book at the bookstore that tells you how to do it in 1 year, I'm going to tell you right now, it's bullshit. It's not going to happen. The only exception that I can throw in there, it would be someone in the tech industry, the Mark Zuckerberg, that's the Facebook guy for those of you that don't know. I mean, it's not going to happen. It's going to take years. I think, in my opinion, it takes you as a business owner, or an instructor or firearms sales or whatever your business is, because we have a lot of listeners now from the non-firearm field, to even know what the hell you're doing. It doesn't matter if you own a pizza shop. It's going to take you a while to figure out the game. So you're going to have to allocate that sort of time to grind it out and figure out the game and adapt. You're going to have to roll with the punches, and it's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. But if you ride it out, it's going to be one of the best rides of your life. So the number one reason, getting back to my point, why people get out of firearms instruction or sales is because they quit. They quit too early. They throw in the towel. They listen to these people that make them start questioning themselves. Don't question yourself. This is what you want to do. If you didn't want to do it, you would have never gotten your FFL or gotten certified to teach certain classes or invested in a brick and mortar storefront, whatever. You would have never invested that time or money to do this. So you have to be mentally committed to just grinding it out. And that's what we've done. Countless times. I've had my wife, friends, and then just people that are in the same room with me regularly question me, or think that it's silly that we've gone this down this path. But you know what? They're not laughing now. We've weathered the storm. We're in calmer waters now, and that wasn't always the case. So the biggest point that I have here is don't quit. Give it 2 years. I think that it probably takes 5 years for you to really make it out of the storm and be really profitable. You're going to be broke. If this is what you're doing full time, you have to be prepared to pay your distribution network, pay your employees if you have those, before you pay yourself. And that's a whole nother topic. That's another reason why people fail. I'm talking managing cash flow would be another one. And that's a hard lesson to learn. We've made some bad decisions when we got started. Hell, sometimes we still continue to make bad decisions, but that's part of learning. We're just able to absorb it now. But, back in the day, we opted into some of these, some services that were a contract that we should have never done. And it cost us thousands of dollars, and that hurt back in the day. And we didn't quit. So a lot of instructors get out of the game within 2 years. Don't do it. Weather that storm. Look at it this way. If you can weather it past that 2-year mark, think of the turnover in this industry. So your biggest competitor, Joe Blow down the road, chances are he might not be in the market anymore. Now you're the guy. It's all about gaining traction and momentum and just rolling with it.
Yeah, so to tag onto the back of Bill's monologue, just a bit of the stats and then maybe a different perspective on those numbers. So of the 3%, only 2/3 of those survive the first 2 years, and only half survive the first 5 years. So Bill's statements on the timing is pretty damn accurate. And the reason is, to his point, is you give up. But I wanted to talk more about the mindset of those other people that he referenced, right? So first things first. If only 3% of the population actually takes it upon themselves to go become a legitimate business, EIN, tax IDs, and everything, you have to immediately recognize that 97% of the rest of the country, the rest of your peers, the rest of the people you're going to run into in all walks of life are completely different than you, because they don't have that mindset. They don't have the self-starter mentality, and they haven't taken the steps that you've taken. And that's not their fault either, and you don't have to come down on them for it. You just need to understand and accept that they're different. They see the world differently. Their lens is completely different than the way you see it. It's why you've taken the steps you have, and that's why they ask the questions that they ask. They can't see your vision. They can't see your passion. They don't see the world that you're trying to create, that you live inside your head, because your dashboard's different. And so, you can't allow their naysaying or their nagging or their questioning or their disbelief to be a negative thing that ultimately shuts down your dream and your vision to make you give up. You got to use that and dig down deep and channel all of that negative energy and flip it and make it the motivation for why you keep going. You got to go back to the very beginning before you actually got into it and find that conviction inside yourself. Why did you get in the business? Period, point blank. And if you answer that question in a super light way, then you got to ask yourself why a couple more times till you get to that point where it actually feels like something. And then remember that. Write it down. Put it in front of your monitor. Put it on the wall. Put it in your wallet. Put it in your purse. Put it in your car. Put it on the mirror in the bathroom. Put it somewhere. You've got to build yourself up more than the rest of the 97% of the world is trying to tear you down. Period. It's mindset. You can't give up.
You're going to have to become tougher than you thought you could. I mean, there's many forms of toughness. You know, there's people that are mentally tough. There's people that are physically tough. Emotionally tough, whatever, to varying degrees. But this is a long process, and to hit on what Jeff is talking about, he's right. I mean, you could be, what you consider a very strong person, but you're going to roll with a lot of punches. That's the name of the game. I encourage you to talk to anyone who's ever made it before and ask them, was it easy? They're going to have a hard time not laughing because it's never easy. Right.
It looks like it now because of the way you're looking at it from the outside in after they've made it. But there were plenty of years that no one saw because they weren't on the radar yet, and that's where they were making all their mistakes too. One more piece on the mindset and the people that you're around. So there's a saying that I've heard in a handful of trainings that I've been in, and it really resonated with me, and I think I believe there to be a lot of power in it. And that is that you are the average of the 5 people that you're closest to and spend the most time with. And if you just think about that and actually name out the names of the people that you spend the most time with and or are closest to on one hand, and then try to rank yourself among those 5 people, you're probably going to end up somewhere right in the middle as the average of those 5 individuals. And that isn't a bad thing. But the challenge in that, and my challenge to you, is it might be time to reevaluate who those 5 people are that you choose to associate with for those purposes. Are you hanging out with other people in the same industry that you're in that are younger than you, in not by age but by longevity? Are they a newer business? Are they going through challenges you've already solved? Are they facing complications that you've already overcome? Or are they owners or operators or decision makers in an organization that's already solved the problems that you're facing? Where are they on that spectrum? And if it's more of the former, where it's people that you're way ahead of, if you're on the top of that list of 5, then it's definitely time to upgrade your 5. And I'm not talking about, deleting these people as contacts from your phone and never talking to them again. It's just a matter of redesigning your social interactions to go be with and live through those other individuals that have seen success and what that definition of success you want to be is, and then latch onto that. Be a student, be teachable, be coachable, ask questions, be respectful, and don't always take. It can't be take. If you see an opportunity to provide value to them, you give it too. If you can, give it first. So just that principle of being the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with or are closest to. I just have seen a lot of power in that. I've witnessed it in my own life. I've upgraded that circle 2 different times, and each time it's not an immediate shift, although it doesn't take long once you're plugged into it, to see the accelerant on that fire just explode. And sometimes you don't notice the growth inside you, but the other people around you will see it. And then, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years down the road, you'll see where that defining line was as well.
I heard a pretty good example of who to emulate. It was a really successful guy who's built a multi-million-dollar business, and he's said that he's not the fastest guy in the room, he's not the sharpest guy in the room. He's very coachable though, and so his analogy, or what he calls himself, is he's the Rudy. He's if you think of Rudy, from the Notre Dame football team, be that guy. He gets hit hard every day, but gets back up again and just keeps going. That's what you got to do. That's the only way to make it. I encourage you to go out there and surround yourself with, it doesn't have to be anybody in the same business space as you. As a matter of fact, I would highly suggest diversifying it and talking to others. And it really doesn't matter what they do. They could own a trash business or they could own a bank. It doesn't matter. Talk to them and learn from their experiences, because you need to be able, the strongest tool you could have is to be able to take the experiences or lessons learned from others and apply them to what you're doing. You need to be able to do that. That's the strongest skill that you can have as an entrepreneur, is be able to apply things to your business.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was like Dale Carnegie or someone else, one of those large thought leaders early on, and it's the corniest saying, but there's a lot of truth to it, so I'm going to utter it anyway, and you can laugh if you want to, but they always used to say that the biggest room in the world for improvement is, or the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. Some corny ass line like that, but if I could deliver the line correctly, you would understand it. But the largest room in the world is the room for improvement, and there's a lot of truth for that. And it goes back to what Bill said about applying it. Time and time again, we've sat and looked at each other, bruised, beaten, and bloody, and exhausted, and only to realize that what we hadn't done is execute. We've beat ourselves up over the planning, over the building, over the tweaking, over the just festering over trying to get it perfect because we're perfectionists, and we hadn't ever released it to the world.
Absolutely.
And it isn't until we force ourselves to prematurely release to the world that we realize at that point how much faster things evolve and how much better things get and how much feedback and input and growth you actually get just from executing. You learn more from executing and failing, falling flat on your face, and being humble enough to do so, and learning from it and doing it different than you're ever going to do, scheming in your notebook, on the wall, in your journal, whatever.
Yeah, you can turn your wheels all day long, but if you're not putting the car in drive, you're just sitting there revving it, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah. There's the other saying of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Well, guess what? If you stood there forever and never threw it at the wall to begin with, you'll never find what stuck. So the more shit you can throw at the wall, the faster you're going to find what sticks. And once you find what sticks, then you focus on scaling it.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. Have you ever thought about quitting?
Yeah, it's in the subconscious, but at the same time, it's not an option, right?
No.
So the quitting is more about what is it inside myself that's causing me to not reach my definition of success, and that's as close to quitting, I guess, in my head as I get. But let's be real. I mean, it's real talk from the 90s or something, but the closest relationships I have in my family would be my wife first and then my parents. And there have been honest discussions with all three of them, time and time again, as you and I are trying to build this up off the ground. And before, when I was just starting off as the FFL, asking the tough questions, the challenging questions of, do you really think you can do this? Where do you think it's going to go? How do you think you're actually going to get there? You have a really good job. Can you really walk away from that? How are you going to replace the income? It's all the doubt. It's all the self-doubt from a good place. But it goes back to that opening comment we had. None of those three individuals, my mom, my dad, or my wife, I guess I can't say that about my wife. My mom or my dad are not the independent business owner or entrepreneur mindset person. My wife is, because she has her own business, so I can say that. But her challenges are making sure that I'm on task to know that the hours I'm putting in are advancing us forward versus just time being spent. There's another saying I'll have to dub in maybe or put somewhere else. I'm just full of sayings today, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Well, I'll be honest here. There have been countless times through our partnership that I've thought of throwing in the towel, because we've had some major, bruises along the way, and that it's crossed my mind before. Should we just quit? Can we, can I walk away from this?
Right. Can we walk away, and how should we walk away?
Yeah.
And how are we going to recover, more importantly? Because, I mean, those are some really dark times, What would it mean to your business out there if overnight you realized you had $40,000 of exposed liability and you didn't have the assets to cover it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those are the kinds of blows we're talking about. This isn't just, I got a really shitty email from a customer and he wasn't happy with my service. I think I'm going to go throw in the towel now kind of stuff.
No, it's how fast can I get a second mortgage to cover this before we're in real deep shit.
Right. So then go have that conversation with your spouse and see how it goes and decide whether or not it's worth throwing in the towel. I mean, adversity is a part of the game, but you know what? The fun side, the flip side, and I think anyone that's listening still at this point is probably wired the same way. You own that shit. It's yours. We are the captains of our own fate. If anyone's going to solve it, we are. We control it. We will overcome it. Some of those darkest days being on this side of it now, we learned so much more through the ass kicking we got in 24, 48, 72 hours worth of just grueling, ulcer, anxiety attack level stuff.
And I wouldn't trade it for the world, because it shaped us. It lets you know what you're made of. But every time that I've had those doubts, or I've had that, we've had a major blow along the way, and the thought crossed my mind of, should we just throw in the towel? Each time I asked myself, can I walk away? And every single time, without a question, the answer is no. I don't think that I could walk away and be happy, because this is what I love. I love being, doing what we're doing. I love helping people, and, I love being my own boss, and, having a vision and putting it on paper and then making it happen. And so I don't really have those feelings anymore. But there have been some, like Jeff said, in our past, we've had some dark times when cash flow was a problem. Technologies were crashing. We'd implemented some things a little too premature, and we weren't able to.
You just watch yourself hemorrhage.
You grow too fast.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had growth problems in the past where we did not know at the time how to grow intelligently. I mean, you learn very fast. What's it going to take to do this?
Yeah. I think one of the silver linings that you've got to find this fiber in your being if you're going to be successful, and that is humility, because humility frees you up to fail so fast with total disregard that you're not stupid enough or stubborn enough to keep on failing after you've recognized that you've made a dumbass decision or you're going down the wrong path. On the flip side, you recognize it. You know who you are inside. You can look yourself in the mirror and say, whoops, that really sucked.
Yeah, that was stupid.
I'm going to find the easiest and best way out of this, and I'm not going to go down that road again. And if you can't find that in yourself, I'm not going to say that you're going to fail, but it's going to take you a whole lot longer to get there in the end.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. We've said before, fail forward. That's important, but you hit it pretty good right here. Is fail fast, meaning recognize it very quickly as I fucked up and adjust accordingly. That's all you can do. You have to be able to pivot, be able to adapt on the fly. And if you're not that type of person, you're going to have to learn. And there's no better way to learn than when the pressure is on. Right. And that's some of the best and worst times.
And the only way to turn the pressure on is to take action, to bring everything full circle. If you're not executing, if you're not trying, if you don't have butterflies in your stomach or feel vulnerable, then you're not doing it right. period, flat out, just is what it is. I mean, there are still times to this day before we jump on a podcast or before we host a webinar with 500 people or whatever it happens to be, it's not like I just walk into that with glass eyes and a cold heart. I mean, I still get the sweaty palms, the butterflies in the stomach, the boy, I hope I don't mess this up, or I hope I don't choke on my words, or,
fear.
Yeah, I mean, it's all there. It's all a matter of what you do with it and where you tell it to go. And there is an interesting brain hack, the way that the brain works, that if you can catch that feeling and in less than 5 seconds tell your brain to go execute, whether it's send that email, go talk to that person, go open the conversation, go pick up the phone, go do whatever the action is that you're sitting there consciously avoiding. If you can force yourself to do it in less than 5 seconds, it's done and over with. If you go past that 5-second mark, you slip into an area of your brain that just ends up rationalizing all of the reasons why you are going to continue to be apprehensive or delay going and taking that action.
And eventually these things become habit. Through proper execution, all of these habits and traits that you're going to learn over time, they're just going to be part of your normal decision making eventually. And the only way to develop that is experience. And the only way to gain experience is time and, experiencing various situations, ups, downs, highs, lows. Use fear, guys. I mean, that's what I do. I have, be it fear of failure or fear of, oh shit, the bank account's empty, whatever. Use whatever you can, an emotional trigger, to push you forward, to drive you. Get angry. I mean, if we have a hiccup or anything like that, I use it. I create fuel out of it, and I say we're never going to do that again, and we build something better, stronger, faster, whatever. That's how you progress.
That's how you win.
And with that, guys, I think this is our first mindset episode. It might have been a little sporadic or all over the place, but get your head in the game, guys. I mean, surround yourself with excellence. Find a mentor. If you can't find one, we'll be one for you, or the community. Join the Firearms Professional Association. That's the goal, is to create a environment, a network of mentors.
Yeah, something on that real quick, because there's something I've definitely learned in my professional career, and that is that you cannot be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't deserve it, and if you don't ask, you can't expect it. And then the second part of that, and what I mean by that is around a mentor or time or value in a relationship. If you don't ask that individual, you can't expect for them to have volunteered it. But at the same time, the people that you probably are thinking about that you would ask, generally speaking, based on where they are in their career, want nothing more than to help other people by the time they're there. But the other piece of that is don't say no for someone else. And what I mean by that is don't let that voice inside your head tell you those stories that tell you no for them before you even asked. And what I mean by those stories would be, oh, why would he ever want to work with me? I'm a nobody. Or, gosh, I've only been in the business for a year and he's been in it for 30. Or, he's got to be so busy. He doesn't have the time. She doesn't have the time. Any of those things. All you're doing is you're telling yourself no for the other person. You never even gave them the opportunity to tell you yes.
Most people who have made it, who have passed through Dante's Inferno, they're usually happy to talk about it with, up and coming people. It makes me happy when people come and ask us questions, and I'm not saying that we are, the apex of our market space, but we've been through some shit. We know some things, and we're happy to share that with people. We don't want to see people repeat any of the mistakes we've ever made.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty open too about, we've always sought mentors and we've always had them. And even with us having them, we've still made some stupid mistakes, some big monumental issues. And so, we're giving ourselves that shortcut by trying to learn from other people. And we're still making mistakes left and right almost every day, it feels like sometimes. But we always innovate. We always come back. We always end up coming back better, faster, stronger, smarter, leaner.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thanks a lot. This was episode 12, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
To find out more, you can find us on Facebook at Flashbang Creative, or you can visit us on our website at flashbangcreative.us.